You are the chosen undead. Look, the big thing came and grabbed you. You must be special. And then you land, and the first dude you talk to is like, oh yeah, chosen undead prophecy, right? Pfft, we've got another one. The meat grinder's over there, bitch.
So, Kieran,
Yes,
Dark Souls.
that's an interesting topic you've got there, Callum. There's an interesting name drop you've got there, Callum. How about I keep calling you Callum just in case they don't figure out that's your name, Callum?
It's not my name, but, you know, we'll roll with it.
Well, you don't want them to know you're actually Batman, so what else do I call you?
Shh!
Damn it, this always happens. But yes, hello, beloved anonymous people of the internet. This is good chum Callum.
Hello, comrade.
He is a being of staggering intellect.
Well,
Well, you know,
subpar, perhaps.
above average. Come on, come on, come on.
Fine. Mediocre at best.
I'd say your mediocrity comes from the resolution I'm currently viewing you in more than anything else, but you have your charms. Yes, but you are of particular interest to me because you introduced me, humble me, little old me, to a certain wonder of gaming by the name of Dark Souls. Did you not?
I did. I came round your house with a little old game we like to call Dark Souls. So
I may have meant to bring the box up here to show you, but never
I
mind.
I have.
Oh. Oh, it's good. It's good that the person with the blurry camera thought to bring it.
It's probably not good.
I could just make out a face and some letters. They may have been hieroglyphics, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
This is the height of professionalism, expect no less. But what is it about Dark Souls that got your attention and promptly captivated me?
Well, I think to start off with, I didn't really understand what Dark Souls was. So, you know, people talked about Dark Souls being this really hard game in which you have to overcome tremendous odds to get anywhere. And then some people were like, it's not as good as the original Demon Souls, which, you know, is debatable. But when I got it, it was more of an impulse buy. I was like,
Oh.
I want something to play, and I want it to last. And Dark Souls definitely does that.
I want it now. Bow. Continue.
So yeah, I thought you might enjoy it, so I
And-
brought it round to your house.
Yes, evidently that may have been a wise hunch. I'm surprised that it was an impulse buy. I thought it would have been something where you're like, legend tells of a needlessly hard game that strangles you in your sleep and kills kittens for fun. But no, you just went, to buy it. Looks like it got
Yeah.
killing dudes in it. It must be good.
I mean, to be honest, most games I buy nowadays are impulse buys. I
Oh,
don't really do that much research into them. I just go
oh. We have lost you
with
there.
how I'm feeling at the time, and
I com-
generally it works out.
I completely lost 5 seconds of audio there, but I think I got the gist of it.
That's good.
But what is it about Dark Souls specifically? The Dark Souls, by the way, might be an idea to give them the first hint of an idea. I don't think this is going to be a massive spoiler video, so people may not actually have the slightest clue what the hell we're talking about. You know, since I have such a massive viewership, I just casually come along to my video empire. But what is Dark Souls, Callum, since I consider you the master of it?
It's quite high praise indeed. Dark Souls is a fantasy RPG in which you are dead and you
That's a good
have to
start.
get back your soul.
It's a good start right there. Before you've even started, you've failed.
Oh, you know,
Let that be.
it happens to the best of us sometimes.
Yes, let that be a harbinger of a recurring theme. Death. Lots
Yeah.
of it. Indeed, I own the Prepare to Die edition on the PS3. We both got the PS3 version, I presume,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it was on PS3 and 360, and then by popular demand they brought out a PC port, which they flat up said, "We don't know what we're doing. This will not be a good port," and then it wasn't, but it's apparently functional. So,
It's not the best version of it. I'll say that much.
well, I think it is. It's not that it's somehow inferior. It's just that you need a stupid mod to even get a good resolution, and it's still locked at 30 frames per second like the consoles. And playing it with a keyboard is not going to get you anywhere. But who doesn't have some sort of controller these days? So I don't think that's a massive criticism. I mean, a keyboard, if you think about it, was never exactly designed for games in the first place. Really, if we go back in the dawn of time to when dinosaurs were riding around with Adam and Eve on their back, you know.
Just yeah.
We're doing a fantastic job of only vaguely touching on the supposed topic of this 5-hour-long video.
Mm.
It's such a massive topic, though, just because, you know, I say you know too much, but you know, I have played a fair share of my RPGs in my day. I have endured such works as Final Fantasy X. I have enjoyed such actual enjoyable products as the Skyrims, and a little bit of Dragon Quest on the side, you know, being a bit going back to the roots there, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in my head, I can't stop comparing something like Skyrim to Dark Souls, just because arbitrarily they technically both qualify as the same genre of thing, but they really have almost no resemblance to each other, do they? Because Dark Souls is 90% a combat game. You can wander around and explore and pick up crap, but 90% of the time it's about killing things, or in fact being killed. Probably more the latter in my case.
Yeah. Definitely the latter in your case.
But damn it, I'm trying. And because I don't want to get onto this, but Skyrim is like a complete package where you can do a whole bunch of things, but not all of the things are as focused on. It's kind of like you can do a whole bunch of crap, but none of that crap is going to be particularly polished. Whereas Dark Souls is, here's one thing that we've shined beautifully, and that beautifully, beautifully shiny thing is combat, of which there is much.
So much combat. It's such a good combat system in this game.
It is scarily good, especially after 5 million hours of Skyrim.
Yeah.
And Skyrim is functional combat-wise. It gets you from A to B, you know. But then Dark Souls is like, oh, if you try blundering into our dungeon and not really paying attention and just spamming your cure spell, you're gonna be dead. You're gonna be dead lots of times in lots of horrible ways. And how do I, you know, Dark Souls, first and foremost, what do people think of when you say that? They think of, I think people kind of exaggerate. I have not, have either of us actually finished Dark Souls? I don't think.
I think I'm close, but I'm not sure. No, I don't think we have, no.
I think you'd remember. I know I haven't.
No.
I know I haven't, it was just whether you had.
Yeah, I haven't. No.
And then even if you do finish that, there's an expansion to enjoy, no doubt, so...
Yeah, yeah.
It never ends. Just a 7th layer of hell right there. Oh my.
At least we enjoy it.
But, you know, it's not inaccessible, is the point I was roughly trying to approach there. It's not as if you've ever played God of War, say, or perhaps just any... Oh, he may have broke when I threw him over there. Damn it! Kratos ain't... Yeah, okay, his foot literally came off. I'll have to look into that. But
he's not as strong as he once used to be.
Old man Kratos ain't what he used to be. But, you know, God of War or any sort of that thing, you'll get the basic premise of what Dark Souls is about. You kill dudes in all variety of lovely, painful ways, but the difference between God of War and Dark Souls is that you can kind of just go with the flow with God of War, especially if you put it on the pussy setting.
Yeah.
Whereas Dark Souls, there is no setting other than just you are going to die mode, as it should be known. There is no option. You go in, and literally within 10 minutes you may well have died. Probably
Yeah.
with no idea what was going on. Such is the ritual. Oh, and it's a beautiful thing. A beautiful, beautiful thing. I miss when you could get... Because I'm one of those lovely people who's actually finished Maximo. You ever finished Maximo?
Never played Maximo, so
Maximo seems to be a bit of a minor cult classic on the PS2,
yeah.
and it had a sequel which was utterly average. But it's like Dark Souls in the sense that it presents a clear and definite challenge, and you actually need to get your head around the game, but it's miles simpler than Dark Souls. I finished Maximo, I do not expect to ever finish Dark Souls, I'm far too cowardly.
To be honest, though, most games they aren't as complex as Dark Souls. I think.
God
You
no.
know.
Bugger
And-
all no. That is the official
Yeah.
stance of Tryzon Plays on this matter. Bugger all no, full stop.
I mean, just the way you can like move in that game, and the way that you can attack enemies, and the way you can approach it. It's such a complex kind of thing, but at the same time, it's so simple. You know, it doesn't hamper you in any way. It's you that is the device that fails, not the game.
Yes, yes. There have been almost no situations while playing Dark Souls for like 60 hours now, crocky. My little thief, he's gradually crawling his way up Mount Impossible.
You're still backstabbing people as you go.
Like a boss, I'll have you know. But, what is it? What the hell was I going to say? Damn it, it's starting already. No.
It has begun.
Yeah, Dark Souls, it's not as if there's no way to know what you're doing. I find the early sections, once you get your head around some of the less immediately obvious parts, it's not a hard game to play, it's just, it quickly stops bullshitting with you. It's like, oh, have you got the hang of the basic mechanics? Well, now you die! Get ready to die, lots. Here's an enemy who looks really hopeless and then just, like, jumps at you when you think he's too far away to do any damage.
Yeah.
Here's another guy who, like, farts fire at you, or whatever's going on. Here's a dude who you think can't get you down there, and then he jumps up and stabs you in the face. You have to play very conservatively, Dark Souls. You have to inch at a time, is my recommendation. Assume everything will kill you unless proven otherwise. Very, very good. But not only does Dark Souls have the unique advantage of having several locations named after a character from Babylon 5, which is high praise, clearly. You're looking confused there, non-Babylon 5 watcher. But
You know.
it's weird, Dark Souls, on the one hand, it feels very old school and old-fashioned in kind of its core, in a way. Because this is kind of how games used to be, only games didn't used to be fair, like Dark Souls. Dark Souls is merciless, but not unfair. It'll kill you, but you'll know why you died. Whereas something like Ghosts and Goblins or like Ninja Gaiden, it just kills you because fuck it, I hate you.
Yeah.
That's what, you know. It even has that kind of old Nintendo style of thing where random wall will just actually be an illusion and you can go through it and says, I'm not sure I like that, where it's just, because it just means I spend the entire game like slashing every wall, just on the off chance that one day I will find a magic MacGuffin on the other side. But it has that old-fashioned spirit, but somehow it feels so fresh at the same time, and I think it's kind of because so many, especially in the big budget industry, so many games have just moved away from this kind of actually making death have consequences so that triumphing over it is then satisfying.
Yeah.
I love Skyrim and all that, but they're not the most balanced or well-paced, well-put-together sort of things, It's the good bits that make me look over the flaws. Whereas Dark Souls is a much more focused, refined, clearly a scary amount of love and attention went into every detail. Oh, and holy crap, does it mess with you sometimes? It's just you'll just I'm always terrified of whatever new enemy I might meet. I'll go into some new creepy-looking area, and my first thought is, what a horrible new means of death and torture will befall me now? And they have this habit of introducing a seemingly harmless-looking thing that then bursts lightning out of its eyeballs. And I feel I've been talking for too long. You jump in and...
I mean, we obviously both love this game quite a bit, you know.
Oh, yes.
But I'm going to pose the question:
Oh.
Is there anything in Dark Souls that you would want to change?
Oh. Definitely, definitely. Okay. One of the first things that comes to mind is the merchant system. You can't, like, look at a weapon on the merchant screen and then directly compare it to something you've already got. Unless I'm missing something, which I wouldn't put beyond me. But as far as I can figure out, it's not like in Borderlands where you can directly compare things and know exactly what you're getting.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to just manually flick between your two screens. And I suppose it might be a bit more convenient on PC where you could, like, print screen it or something. But I don't know. It's just a weirdly... It's just an odd little bit of clunkiness in an otherwise incredibly well put together game. And I do think there's at least one occasion where it wasn't... There was little real way to figure out that something was about to happen. I'm just walking along and then a seemingly stable bit of floor gives out, you know? And I didn't think that was a rational, actual, obvious thing that you could figure out. It just looked like a perfectly safe layer of nice tiled flooring, maybe a bit dusty, could get the cleaners in once in a while, you know? And then I died because it was a massive hole to kill me. But apart from that, I can think of way more massive irritations with Skyrim and crap. Oh, and no pause button, by the way, in Dark Souls.
Yeah.
That may actually be my single biggest... I mean, what you can do is go to the menu very quickly and go to the main menu. That kind of saves you exactly where you are, which the game doesn't actually really directly tell you, unless you've already messed it up somehow. It's hard to explain. But you can just, like, quickly quit out of the game and then come back from the menu later. But there's no just convenient pause button, like every other game ever.
Yeah. But I quite like that, because it adds to the challenge, you know? You have to stay alive no matter what. There is no safe zone.
I get the point. Like, I'm sure in Slender or something, if you try and pause the game, sometimes it won't let you, because they know people will just pause rather than have the predictable jump scares in their face, you know? So, but it just... I'm in the middle of a boss fight where I've spent 10 minutes trying to kill this dude, and I'm on, like, this much health, and then the phone rings. It's like, if I get up, I die, you know? There's no middle ground there, and it just... and especially because death, like we say... How should we explain this? Okay. You have souls in Dark Souls, makes sense. And this is like your currency, this is how you level up, this is how you buy things. But any souls that you have in your counter are at risk. Because if you die, you lose them. But it's not forever, because if you can get back to where you died, you have one chance of this, and only one chance. If you can get back to where you died, you can pick up your souls. But if you don't manage it, if you die again, they're gone. There's no way around that.
It's probably the most frustrating bit about that game, is trying to get back to some place that you've already died. Especially if you have accumulated something like 150,000 souls, and you die, and it's a pain to get them back.
Well, it's all a part of the strategy, really. I think it's actually a really subtly clever system, because... it's very easy to lose patience and try to rush through, and that's when you die a second time. If you just keep your head, possibly put the game down and come back later, would be my recommendation. Just be patient, be thorough, be generous with the health potions, and do not risk things needlessly, because that's how... It's when you don't pay attention that horrible things happen. And you know, if you think about it, you know, as much as I love Skyrim and even things like Deus Ex, the fact you never really die... Have you ever seen the Nicolas Cage movie Next?
The...
Segway.
I don't think I have, no.
What I love about that movie is it's actually not a good film at all, really, but it had a very cool little idea that was ruined by the fact that there was a Hollywood movie made in the last couple of decades. The idea is that this isn't a spoiler, it's the setup. He can like look into the future a few minutes, but he finds this one lady who for some reason he can see like her entire life into the future. And they do this thing like where like he'll walk into a room and be like, "Oh no, there's all these doors and only so much time." And he goes into his future vision, and you see all these like Nicolas Cage ghosts like going into each door and looking at what's in each door. And then only one of them finds what he's looking for. So we kind of go back to real Nicolas Cage in the present, and he's like, "It's in that door," and he goes forward. And the point I'm trying to make with this seemingly unrelated tangent is that was, I'm sure it was Yahtzee who first introduced me to this. This is a weirdly accurate representation of kind of gaming save and loading logic.
Right.
Because in something like Skyrim, every time you die and have to reload, you've severed that timeline and created a new one, when now you may not die next time, and it's this weird kind of parallel universe thing almost, where technically your character has never died, because every time he has died, he's just kind of reverted to a previous time period and kept going. So there's all these millions of dead yous everywhere. I'm really not sure why I started this whole thing, but the point is, in Dark Souls there is none of that. You are actually dying, there are actually consequences. You are given penalties for death beyond just wasting 10 minutes of your life, you know, especially if you're foolish enough to go a long time without banking your souls. You need to actually use up your souls in some fashion if you don't want to inevitably lose them. And the whole game just feels like that, where conservative approaches to problems are encouraged, I found. Should I resort to the unless you want to continue with this topic, should I resort to...
It's fine, I think you've got it covered. Shall we move on to something else?
Shall we consult the all-knowing notes page? Okay, with blah 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 blah. Yes, merciless something something something. Oh yeah, we got, talking more combat, since the whole bloody game is combat. It's balanced, isn't it? You get these classes, which are really only just kind of vague suggestions.
Yeah.
Probably the biggest difference with the classes is the equipment you start with, as far as I can figure out. Because the statistics are only a little bit different.
Yeah.
You could easily play as a thief, and then, for some reason, switch to a tank style with heavy armor if you really wanted to.
I mean, I know I do, quite a lot.
That was
yeah.
There are so many intricacies to Dark Souls that would take ages to explain. But the point is, if you're a knight, you're the prototypical tank character. You move like a brick shithouse. You take a bunch of damage and all that. You are not good at rolling. You cannot move out the way of anything. Your advantage is just standing there with a shield and taking it like a man, and then occasionally hitting people if they can stand still long enough, because you can't move for shit. But then you've got the thief, who is the exact opposite, where he has no health, can't block anything, is just useless, but he moves like greased snakes, and is amazingly good at like dodging and parrying and all this sorts of other stuff. So if you actually played the knight and then went to the thief, you'd be like, oh, the thief is useless, he's got no health and nothing. But if you actually figure out what he's good at, getting around people, backstabbing, all this stuff, it's a perfectly valid way to play the game. I would say it just takes a bit more effort. You actually have to know what you're doing,
Yeah, I mean, it's like you say, certain classes require certain skills, which if you don't possess, then it's pointless playing those classes.
I've felt little temptation to try and explore magic either. I don't know why. It just seemed...
Magic in Dark Souls, some people say it's overpowered, which I do agree with to an extent, and some people just say there's no real point in using it, because if you want a ranged character, you go for something like the Ranger. But magic overall, I mean... I hardly ever use it. It's mostly pointless for me. It's like one of those things where it can do a lot of damage, and you can...
And you have more healing as well, which is always useful. You can need that.
But at the same time, it takes a while to cast some of these spells, and you have to think when to cast them. Timing is everything if you're going to play as a magic user. Which... if you're good at that kind of thing, go for it. but
if you want to do that, then it's a free country. Yes, But this has just reminded me like consulting you, who I consider a source of information on this sort of thing. 'Cause you've actually, I'm still stuck on these stupid tag team dudes who are just currently whooping me.
Right,
But you
right.
are like, I left them in the dust ages ago. I'm like, whatever, with lava spewing spiders over here. It's fine. Yeah. But it's just reminded me that it's been so long since I've played a game where it not only encourages talking to people and swapping tips, but it's actually really necessary in a lot of cases, because some things aren't really explained
Mm.
particularly. You're kind of left to figure it out, and I think some things are a bit too unhelpfully vague, but that's debatable.
I
But
think
yeah,
that's Dark Souls in a nutshell, though, isn't it? I mean, the
unhelpfully
story.
vague.
Do you understand what's going on with the story?
It's weird to even call it a story. It's just kind of, what is it? Mr. B Tongue, who is one of my favourite fellow YouTube people, did a little Dark Souls video, and he said the story isn't so much a story as this kind of mythology. It has it starts out as a seemingly odd but simple premise that ends up, you find items and just read the descriptions, and they have some weird history to them. You're like, that's interesting and weird, and it really is a very atypical story, especially if you play something like Dragon Quest, which is another JRPG. It's a very traditional sort of affair. It's done well,
Mm.
but it's not gonna surprise you, really. But then you play Dark Souls, and the story is, there's no like big cutscenes full of Hideo Kojima-esque, like Metal Gear. Oh no, this reminds me of when I was 15 and going to the park, and my dad said, "Look out, there's Metal Gear." But it's none of that. It's much more subtle, and I can't decide if the writing is any good or not. There are a couple of lines which just have that, again, kind of Metal Gear translation iffiness to it.
Mm.
But there are memorable. You meet weird people along the way, and they have some memorable things to say. Yes, certain individuals, I'm sure, will stick in your mind sometime. Memorably annoying in some cases. Memorably, it's it's fitting that the character creation menu music reminds me of Resident Evil 4, because I kind of got a Resi 4 feeling at times. You'll be like slogging through somewhere like, oh god damn, just give me a save point, please. And then you'll finally find a save point or some treasure or just a random new character, and you go, oh Jesus, thank you, something to distract me from all the death and pain. And that is, it's a very emotional experience, Dark Souls. I nearly called it Deus Ex without thinking. They're vaguely similar, Dark Souls. No, I mean name-wise, names. Dark. It could be that like 3 days ago I was talking about Deus Ex for 2 hours. Understandable mistake, could happen to anybody.
Yeah. But the story in Dark Souls, it's not really explained that well unless you go out and look for it.
Well, that's what I mean. You're there for the combat, you're there for the challenge, you're
Yeah.
there for the satisfaction of seeing a horrible big thing failing 50 times and finally beating it.
Which
But
I think is a good thing. It doesn't focus on story.
it doesn't need to.
It
It doesn't.
focuses on the thing that matters, which is, in the end, the combat.
It's like in Painkiller, they should not have bothered with those damn cutscenes.
Mm.
The damn cutscenes was then looked mysteriously worse in the expansion pack, I'll always remember, randomly. Tangent. Relevant, but tangent. But it's I think people really, it's kind of more of a, just the whole atmosphere. It has a very consistent atmosphere from start to finish, and I think that the backstory is so vague and not really. It has big gaps where you're like, well, what happened here? There's here, and then there was this.
Mm.
And again, I haven't got as far as you, so there's probably stuff I don't even know. But I actually, when I get a new item, I'm like, oh, maybe it'll tell me something interesting in the description, and often it does. It'll be like, this used to belong to Billy Bob the Troll Slayer, who was knighted in the Great Order of... I just feel almost too much effort went into the
Well,
intricacies.
the cool thing with most of the items is you actually end up meeting some of those characters as well. So it's like it all comes round.
I'm pretty sure I don't qualify that as a spoiler.
No, no. I mean, I'd say at least half of that game you spend exploring anyways because the game doesn't do a very good job of telling you where you need to go. It just says you need to do certain things, but where you go is completely up to you. Yep.
I have an exact thing. Well, one of my favourite little things about this kind of atmosphere they established right at the beginning, it's like, you are the chosen undead. Look, the big thing came and grabbed you. You must be special. And then you land, and the first dude you talk to is like, oh yeah, chosen undead prophecy, right? Pfft, we've got another one. The meat grinder's over there, bitch. It's like, it almost sets you up as this chosen one, like every game ever, and then you're like, no, no, sorry if the brochure lied to you, but no, you're gonna die. You're welcome to try, but death awaits.
Yeah.
And I love that kind of like that they're just pulling the carpet from under you. Established this right at the beginning. You are not special. You are not a beautiful and unique snowflake. You are going to suffer before you even dream of seeing the end to this quest. I mean, even the fact that you start the game dead should really set the tone. It's just, but so and that's how I would summarize Dark Souls' story. It's kind of more, it's an atmosphere, it's a setting, it's a state of mind, and it's
there,
yeah.
but you don't really have to pay any attention to it.
And as well, it's an interesting backstory more than an actual coherent narrative, like Legacy of Kain could be said. Having, I'm just going to continually produce action figures.
How many have you got there? Just like sat on the floor for you to pick up.
Just bring the other lorry in. I love that he's got a little soul reaver and everything, so you can take it out and try and use it as a letter opener, which is badass. Cadaverous laceration. Anyway, go play Legacy of Kain if you actually want story of awesomeness. Play Soul Reaver the first because Blood Omen's a bit tangent.
Gotta love those tangents.
It's tangents, man. It's what gives life its flavour. The tangents. You asked me if I had any criticisms of Dark Souls. Do you?
I think as a person who loves story, I would have loved to have been a bit more informed in the story department. Also as a person who quite likes to play with friends, because there is multiplayer in this game, there's PvP as well. I kind of wish that was a bit more streamlined, because the system they have... I mean, have you tried doing any kind of... No?
Let's just say I don't think I've yet to actually successfully kill an invader to my world. Should we explain some of this? I find Dark Souls, it has a weird sense of community to it. Is it just me? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I mean, if you play online, you already get that sense of community because you can see the ghosts of other characters running around. Yeah. So it's not as if you're on this godforsaken world on your own. There are other people.
That's kind of the paradox of Dark Souls, is that it is actually a weirdly lonely and harrowing experience a lot of the time, but at the same time, you do see the ghosts of other players running around. You can touch bloodstains to see how people have died, which is often very informative if you've just entered a new area. Plus occasionally hilarious. And then possibly the most direct form of help you get is messages people can leave, but you can only leave messages in kind of block of phrases, it's like, be wary of lightning, you can't just say go up and down and then round the corner and by the way your mum's a whore, you can't do any of that. But even so, even given the limited format, people have found terrific ways to troll and amuse others. And that is, I think paranoia is one of the overriding emotions I feel while playing Dark Souls, and it's not helped by the other players from my experience, because every once in a while you'll be like, it says try jumping, I suppose there could be a ledge down there. You died.
It's very easy to just like shut off and then just follow these messages as they come. So
Yes.
it requires you not to do anything other than follow messages. But again, that's going to end up getting you either killed or brutally maimed.
I just love how people have managed to make these what would you think would be a very limiting format. People have managed to create comedy out of it. I love that so much. But so often people will say like amazing trap, look out for trap, and there will be a trap, and you're like, that saved my bacon, and then walk straight off a cliff afterwards. But it helps. It helps. And again, the weird sense of community you get there. I wonder if I was gonna make another thing. Yes, as well as all the trolling and ghosts and all that, people can outright invade your world if you turn that on, and it's pretty freaking scary. She'll be just like, I wonder where I should go next. Dana, Dana. That's what happens often to me. Although I do spend 5 minutes to be like, where are they? Where are they? Because it tells you they've invaded, and then I just run around in circles panicking for 5 minutes until they eventually turn up. And I suppose one problem with the whole system is, as well as being invaded, you can like invite people or be invited and go into their world and all that. But I suppose the problem is the game's been out for like 2 years now, so everyone except me is massively uber hardcore at the game.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm having a bit of trouble here, I will get some help, and then I'll get someone who's clearly on New Game +3, and just comes in with complete steel plate, dragon bone armor, and just casually murders the boss that I was just horrible at. I'm like, I suppose that was nice of you.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard not to feel cheap when that kind of thing happens. You're like, on the one hand, okay, but on the other hand,
Yeah. You don't really get a big sense of accomplishment if you just get somebody else in to do it for you.
Yeah, it's kind of a problem that the game has just developed now as a, people love their Dark Souls an unsettling amount, and as nice as it is to have someone come in and solve a problem, it does kind of detract from the satisfaction of figuring it out yourself. Oh, I completely forgot. You mentioned at some point, I can't remember what exactly you were saying, but you reminded me of Borderlands somehow. Can you remember?
Really?
Can you remember what that might have been? I don't know. Oh, I know what it was. You were saying that you wish there was more of a story thing there. I think Dark Souls has the right level of story for what it needs to be, and it's memorable in its vagueness and oddness. But Borderlands is what I'd call a game where I definitely think it's not just the absence of story, it's just the setting isn't even very interesting. If even the setting had been fun to explore, I'm only going by the first one. You are the much bigger Borderlands fan,
I love
and
Borderlands.
maybe that's why I thought of it, but you've also played the second one however much.
Quite a bit.
I don't want to completely derail what should be, in theory, a focused conversation. But that's the thing there.
I mean, it's just because I think the world in Dark Souls is so much more fleshed out. Like,
easily.
It could do with some kind of immense story, you know. I feel that it deserves some kind of story. Well, I mean, the one in Dark Souls, it's okay because it doesn't get in the way of you doing things, but at the same time, I would love it if there was some kind of narrative going on other than the one that is already there.
I don't know, I think it just kind of reinforces the fact that you're a nobody with pretensions of being the chosen one. I think that kind of focuses, as opposed to, I'm getting so goddamn sick of how often I say but
you say quite a bit.
I know. Anyway, comedy aside, it's kind of I never really got that same disconnect as something like Skyrim did, where it's like, oh no, dragons, they're evil, and then you just casually. I really almost wonder if they should have just made your one fight with a dragon be at the end of the main quest or something, because then the first time you fight a dragon is exciting and different. But then they all fight in exactly the same way, and especially once you get the convenient shout power that stops their one thing they can do, namely flying around. That's the most annoying thing they can do, and you can just disable them from doing that whenever you want after a point in the quest. So.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think that the big main difference between Skyrim and Dark Souls is in Skyrim, you are the chosen one. There is no doubt about that. You
Oh,
know,
bugger no.
you can do anything, you can be anyone. You are the chosen one. Whereas in Dark Souls, like you say, you are a nobody.
I'm just
Really.
wondering where Kratos' foot has gone. Damn it! Ah, the resale value is damaged. Ah, damn it, tiny Spock, you lied to me. Uh, anyway, I'm sad now. I paid money
Uh,
for my Kratos,
Good hard-earned money.
hard-earned, lazy money.
Tryzon plays money.
Well, this was ancient history, man.
Pre-Greek.
This is pre whatever. Yeah, pre. I was going back before Kratos was around. Oh, a whole bunch of nonsense. You know, uh, we keep on bringing it back to the combat, but so much of it is about
It's
the
the game.
combat.
The game
It's,
is the combat. You
and
cannot. If you hate the combat, you're gonna hate this game.
yeah, and that's exactly what I was saying. The game is all about combat.
Mm.
Whereas one of the many things I love about Skyrim, and in fact Dungeons and Dragons, recurring stupid joke, is that you can just, especially in D&D, there is not this clear line between combat and everything else you can do. If I was to look in my Advanced Dungeons and Dragons 2nd Edition Player's Handbook, I would find that there are a great many proficiencies and other stupid. There are weirdly specific skills and things you can do in D&D, and at no point does it say cannot be done in combat. If you just wanted to sit down and start fixing somebody's shoes with your cobbling proficiency in the middle of a fight, you could do that. And it really encourages the kind of outside the box thinking that is so beautiful about Dungeons and Dragons. I'm talking like I'm some sort of authority with my 20-year-old books and my dice I've yet to see an opportunity to use. But but Dark Souls is all about the combat. Everything you do in some way relates to the fact that you will be doing combat. Skyrim has a lot of combat in it, maybe even more than Oblivion, I'd argue, but there's nothing to stop you just fun. You could major in speech and pickpocketing if you really want to, if you're just that much of an awesome badass.
Yeah, I mean, speech is kind of useful in Skyrim.
It's more useful
You're going to
than it
spend
was in Oblivion.
quite a bit of time in dialogue trees just trying to get people to listen to you.
Can I just say, whoever it was at Bethesda that came up with the Oblivion speech minigame, it fails on every level of being a minigame.
It's such a stupid minigame.
It's not fun, it's not challenging, it's
Yeah.
in no way mechanically engaging, and it doesn't make any sense thematically or in context either, so it is completely superfluous. It serves only to annoy and aggravate. It feels like a filler minigame. It's like, we need something here, we'll get back to it, and then they forgot about it. You know, I'd have literally preferred like a Deus Ex system where you just press the button and wait for the door to be unlocked. But you know, tangent.
Yeah.
You'd have thought the last 2 hours of talking about Deus Ex would be sufficient, but you would think wrong, sir.
Yeah, this is secretly a Deus Ex podcast.
Which I'm sure delights you to no end. Massive Deus Ex fan. You're looking at this blurry man right here.
Yeah.
But you know, that's kind of... There were times in Skyrim where I would be doing a whole bunch of like, I do a big dungeon, fisticuffs for ages, and I'm like, I just want to fuck around in town for a bit, I'm bored of fighting. And you could just go do that, whereas in Dark Souls you just kind of have to turn the game off if you feel like that. So, on the one hand, you don't get this kind of... In Skyrim I always get kind of bored once I've reached a certain level of power, because it's not that there's no challenge, it's just that the challenge is so arbitrary and unbalanced a lot of the time. All the boss fights in Skyrim are more about finding exploits and actually being good at the game. Whereas in Dark Souls there is a consistent and regular increase in difficulty, to the point just when you think you're being able, you know, you can hold your own against these regular bad guys, and the boss you'll just manage to beat and you're like, damn, I'm awesome, and then the very next area you're a noob again. You're a noob. And Dragon Quest did that as well. I'm talking about Dragon Quest 8 specifically. Dragon Quest did that well also, but Dark Souls is way more consistent. And it's also different in that you can't just... I would always play Dragon Quest with one hand, like sipping tea with the other, because I'm like da 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 da. And it's then only during the boss fights that I really had to be like, oh yeah, hardcore thinking now.
Mm-hmm.
Why do all these games have dragons in them? Stupid. I'm so sick of dragons, honestly.
The king of the mythical beast.
I'm sick of dragons, which is weird. You'd think I'd be all about the dragons, but no. With my Dungeons and Dragons.
Surprisingly, you don't actually get that many dragons in Dungeons and Dragons, do you?
Well, not if the DM knows what the hell he's doing, no. Because the whole point is dragons are meant to be like this mythical, impossible goal to beat, and this is a bit of a tangent. But how about, in a desperate, meaningless, out-of-nowhere segue, what do you think of how Dark Souls does loot?
Oh, sorry, I lost you there. Could you repeat the question?
I was wondering. It was just kind of... He's taking a long time to think about this. It's like deep thought mode. I asked you, what do you think of how Dark Souls does loot? How you get loot, what sort of loot you get. How does it compare to, say, Borderlands? I may have hit the microphone there.
Borderlands, the thing with Borderlands is you're never going to get the same gun twice, unless, of course, it's one of those guns which Gearbox or whoever did the guns was, specifically wanted in the game.
Yep.
Dark Souls, every single item other than items dropped by enemies, you will always find in those places.
Yeah, it's not nearly as random as something like Skyrim, or certainly not FTL. My god, FTL is just roll the dice and see if you have a chance of beating the boss, is how FTL works.
But the good thing with Dark Souls is you always know where to get the loot that you need, Yeah. Say if there's this sword that you can only get by getting to a specific area, you know that you have to get to that area to get to that sword. So it's in a way it's better than having randomly generated loot, as in Borderlands, because it means you can plan.
It feels like less of just a Skinner box, like what Borderlands has, doesn't it? It actually feels planned, whereas the Borderlands is like, just do the same thing over and over until you get a nice shiny purple one. And, yes, but...
I mean, if anything, it's better, because the weapons you get in Dark Souls will always be consistent.
Oh, yeah, I also meant to say, one of the beautiful things about Dark Souls is weapons actually feel different. Yeah. Like, the most a weapon is going to feel... I mean, in Skyrim, a blade and a bow, they feel different because you use them in different ways. But a blade and a slightly bigger blade feel pretty much functionally the same. There'll just be a slight damage and speed difference. But in Dark Souls, it's like, I've been using this claymore, now I'm using a Zweihander, and it definitely feels different. Even the swords which you think would be very similar have clear, definite differences, and I feel, again, way too much thought went into every tiny little facet. There are so many bloody factors to consider. Do I have the strength to lift it? Do I have the dexterity for this complicated bow? Do I have the poise or whatever? And
but again, because this game is so focused on combat, if they hadn't have done that, it probably wouldn't have been as good a game as it is.
I'm not complaining. I think I do have one complaint. I was confused for the longest time because the game kind of treats shields as if they were weapons, because they kind of almost are.
You can have a shield as a weapon.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. But so for the longest time, I was looking at the number over here on the screen, thinking, this blocks 52. I was thinking of like Skyrim logic, where it's like, this blocks 52 damage, and this blocks 60, so this one's better. But actually, it's the numbers over here with percentages that actually mean something if you're just trying to use it as a shield. Yeah. These ones are like attack numbers, and I got very confused as to why my shield seemed to be worse, even though it said it would be better. And that's why, if you're playing Dark Souls and you're wondering why the shield isn't working, I have suffered for you, so you know now. Yes, there you go. It's an educational podcast, right?
Yeah, how long did it take you to work that out?
30 hours.
30 hours. Oh, man.
Yeah, and I'm so crap at parrying as well with my thief that I really should have just found a shield that would block more damage. But
Yeah.
oh my.
Do you find that you actually use the parry and riposte?
I try, but I'm just so consistently terrible at it. It requires so much good timing. Parrying is amazingly useful if you're good at it,
Mm.
but I consider something like the Jedi Knight games as having a good combat system, but this feels so much less just flaily, and I want to know if someone has tried to beat Dark Souls like doing a no upgrade run. Someone has tried. If they haven't
Yeah.
succeeded, they've tried. But and if you were, I can conceive of it. If you were a thief, it doesn't matter that you have no health because you can dodge everything, and stamina comes back whereas health doesn't. So if you were just freakishly good at being a thief, you could potentially beat the game without any upgrades. Surely, is that possible, oh master?
It's definitely something that I
Someone's
think
tried.
someone with more skill than both of us combined should
It,
definitely try.
I'll tell you what. They tried to beat the game without upgrades as deprived is what they've tried
Mm.
to do. Just the sort of people who've beaten Dark Souls over and over again will want a new and exciting sadistic challenge, especially until the sequel gets here. So
Yeah.
yeah, I will say there isn't really stealth
Oh,
in
the
Dark
sequel.
Souls, is there? No,
Um, there is to a certain degree, but it's not.
not only in the
It's
basic of possible ways.
it's not like Hitman style stealth where you're just putting on disguises and
No.
running around doing whatever you please.
Should we just describe what it is? You literally, if you just do walking instead of running, you can walk up behind an enemy and potentially get a hit on them before they can react. That is the
Yeah.
height of the stealth. And it doesn't seem to make any difference what armor you're wearing from my experience. I might be wrong, but I've tried being a knight in full plate armor and I'm still able to sneak up to them just as well
Yeah.
as the thief
Yeah.
seems to be able to.
I mean, armor really only affects speed.
As far as
So
like, I just thought, it
yeah.
took Bethesda like 3 games to figure out that just taking your shoes off would not make you any quieter if you were still wearing a full suit of armor. So I thought maybe the Dark Souls people were struggling with that too.
Mm.
It's equal opportunity failure is what I'm going for. Um, yes, but the game would it even work if it had a proper stealth system? I don't think it would. It's not really designed with it at all in mind.
I'd say if it was there, people would definitely use
Oh,
it.
you've lagged.
You know.
You've lagged.
Sorry.
Did you say they would definitely use it?
They would definitely use it if it was in there, and if it was like to a certain degree decent enough to use. So, say if you could like become invisible and then run around and backstab as many people as you can within a certain limit, or if you could, I don't know. There's a spell which you can change you into like a miscellaneous piece of furniture in Dark Souls.
What?
Yeah.
I have missed this.
So if you could perhaps use that and tie that in with the stealth some way, or just something that would enable you to be a lot more sneaky, like even like a crouch kind of system would be.
I've been completely distracted from our topic by this revelation. I wish you hadn't told me because I want now that I had just been playing. I'd randomly got someone in my world and I was just playing, and then for no apparent reason they just turned into a sofa, and I've now is a sofa. This seems like a hindrance to our jolly cooperation, but okay, do whatever you want. I'm not going to question someone who has no doubt finished the game 7 times.
It's his final form.
Sofa mode engaged. That was my transformer noise attempt.
Yeah.
Probably didn't work on the microphone. Oh my, this topic has gone horribly off rails, but I don't want to bring things back to Skyrim yet again. Oh, internet connection problem. Can I hear you there, Callum?
Oh, hang on.
Oh, oh, difficult technicalities. I think we have recovered.
There we go. Slightly. You're a bit
If
more fuzzy than you were before, but I think we'll manage.
you were already fuzzy,
Uh,
but that's. Uh, it would help if the cloud would stop going in front of the sun every 2 seconds too. But oh my, oh yeah, we've talked about boss fights. Holy hell, boss fights! You know, the entire game. I don't think enough people praise how the animations work in Dark Souls. Just the animations and the hitboxes on enemies. They almost always look as they feel. You know, you'll see a guy like swing, and it almost never feels like he's randomly got a slightly longer reach than it looks like he should. And if you sneak around him, there's not just some big invisible wall. Often in Skyrim, it really feels like there are just big cubes around people that you can't see, and you just kind of have to walk into the cubes to nudge them out the way. I wasn't sure if you've frozen up then again.
only slightly.
a little bit of freezing, just lukewarm.
I think it's just deteriorating.
There's too much Dark Souls for the stream to handle. In the event it suddenly completely cuts out, there will be a massive jump cut, no doubt. What the hell was I talking about?
It's affecting your mic now, so you're sounding a lot more fuzzy than before.
You've gone. What is going on with the connection?
I don't know.
If only I had a crew to investigate this. I'm a one-man operation here. I'd be like, technical operator, snap to it, go investigate, go kick down the Virgin Media man's door and demand to know why my quality production is being interrupted. But I've completely. Oh yeah. I've just
Dark
gone.
Souls, Kieran.
What? I thought we were talking about picking strawberries in the meadow of a fine summer day. What is this? What is going on? Oh my, please someone rescue us from this utterly uninteresting failure of whatever it is that is happening.
Oh man.
Oh, just feel free to jump on board there and save us.
Okay. Shall we talk about...
I completely
You were talking about how enemies... Oh god. Right, you were talking about how bosses feel, like when they attack, how they feel like they're attacking.
Yeah, it's such an intangible thing to experience and try to describe, but it really is. It's just like in so many games, it's hard. You know, you'll see them do one thing, but from experience, you know that they're actually kind of over here. But in Dark Souls, so much of the game is about learning how enemies react and move and time their attacks. And because the animation is so good in that respect, you can figure out, enemies almost always have tells for what kind of attack they're going to do, and some of them are really subtle, but you'll eventually figure it out. And the whole game is just built around you learning how things work and exploiting that knowledge, and then the game will progressively heap more and more ludicrous challenge on top of you. And if you're badass enough, it will not faze you. But and what I was saying earlier, where I'm convinced someone has probably tried to beat the game without any upgrades, that's actually a massive compliment to the game's combat, because it means that if you are skilled enough, it doesn't matter what your statistics are, you could just beat things through sheer awesomeness. And God of War lets you do that too, but Dark Souls has way, way more RPG elements than God of War, and could still manage that, I think. So just big thumbs up for Dark Souls there. Kratos is just crying in the corner. Sorry man, it's true. Your camera is slightly off angle now, I must say. You're a bit down here now.
Oh well now.
Not to disturb your highness, but
I'm just getting relaxed after an hour of doing this. I'm only now getting relaxed. Anyway, Um, Obviously, you play as like a high dexterity carrying the character, so speed is quite important for you. But have you actually tried any of the other classes?
I've tried being a knight, I may have already mentioned. I like the knight just because he's he's prototypical tank. You just think, oh, you're gonna hit my shield. Now I'm just gonna stab you in the face with my two-handed sword I can have in one hand because I'm that awesome. There's something very straightforward and satisfying about the knight, whereas the thief is much more of a, I'm over here, but I'm over here. So like, you're practically Nightcrawler. You're just dodging all over. You're just bamfing all over the place. Um, I'm not sure what the question was.
It doesn't matter. I kind of want to talk about how every single weapon does feel different.
We did say that, but
okay.
continue.
Sorry, what haven't we talked about at this point?
Every time I look down, it's because I'm desperately trying to find something we haven't really mentioned. I would just say, Dark Souls, it feels so refreshing, and much like Deus Ex, I think a lot of developers could really learn from being forced to sit down and try and play some Dark Souls. I'm not sure what you're doing, but the camera just went particularly blurry. Oh well. It's a good thing we have these video systems,
Yeah.
Just... I don't even know. People tell me, how much do you care about having video in these things? As amusing as it is for me to just randomly start shaking a Kratos at you, do you actually care enough?
You get a lot more visual gags in this.
I just don't imagine people watching us two talking heads for an hour, I imagine they lose interest and just listen to it after a while. As if they haven't lost interest completely by now, but... But, I love any game that can just instill emotions in you, and Dark Souls is definitely an emotional experience. Great Maker isn't an emotional experience. That was a continuation of the Babylon 5 joke you didn't get earlier, Callum, just in case you were wondering. Just in case you didn't feel inferior and out of place enough. You're not welcome amongst my court.
I think I'm fine.
Well, man up. Yeah, you man up. You take it like a man, like the Dark Souls master that you are. I cannot stop envisioning that every time I play Dark Souls, I'm doing something terribly obviously wrong, and you would just come along and go, no, you are supposed to do this for maximum efficiency, and oh, what's wrong with you? But that's just the brain rebooting noise. Dark Souls, it's so traditional in some senses, and yet so revolutionary in the sense that so few games feel anything like Dark Souls. And really, I wonder whether it's kind of taken the "you are going to die" gimmick as a bit. It's kind of like when a fresh new thing comes out and everyone's like, yeah, I really like this, and they kind of decide, the reason they liked it was this one specific... I know, I have a perfect example. Remember Pirates of the Caribbean? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a question. One typically answers questions.
Yeah.
Pirates of the Caribbean came out, and everyone likes Pirates of the Caribbean. It's a good time. And they sat there and went, yes, everyone loves Jack Sparrow. Let's just ramp up the Jack Sparrowness to 12 million% and make everything about Jack Sparrow. Even though we've already got I suppose it's better than them focusing on the amazingly boring Orlando Bloom character in the other one. But, it's very hard to continue something. And I wonder if Dark Souls wouldn't be so popular if it wasn't for the fact that it has done this one thing it does very well, so well. If more games actually presented a reasonable challenge and satisfying, consequences for death and overcoming stuff, I wonder if Dark Souls would not be nearly as big a deal to people as it is.
Well, I do think that it's a difficult thing, because I could definitely see a world where there are more games like Dark Souls, but I'm not sure whether I think I would enjoy it more.
I don't think enjoy is even really the word to use when playing Dark Souls.
Well,
unless you're into that,
like say say if Skyrim perhaps did the Dark Souls thing, where death actually means something, and the combat system was amazing, and they kind of skip over the story, would you still think that Skyrim would be as good?
Did you just say that there's not as much of a focus on story?
Yeah.
Did you say?
Like,
well, no, because
it literally like if you put the Dark Souls sort of build and you put that into Skyrim,
well,
would you enjoy it more or would you enjoy it less?
No, because what Skyrim does is what it's good at is all these things it does all together. They're not any one particular element is not very well fine tuned, but together it's fun to have this world to mess around in and do things, and you can play it a whole bunch of different ways. Whereas Dark Souls, it does one focused thing very, very well. But if you took that engine and mechanics and put it somewhere which hadn't been designed for that, it might still be fun to kill things, but it would just feel out of place. Mr. B-Tongue was going on about Gesundtwerk or something. Gesundtwerk. This long German word which has to do with opera or something. I don't know. He spelled it wrong also, which was always amusing. But you get my point, is the fact that Dark Souls was designed very specifically a certain way, and you could take something and put it somewhere else and it might still be good, but it wouldn't feel as perfectly in keeping with everything else like the way Dark Souls does, if you get my point.
Yeah, I get your point.
And I've actually been reminded of something. I don't know how I missed this. This was a big thing. Jim Sterling on Jimquisition did a video once where he was going on about how Dark Souls, he was using Dark Souls as an example to follow because it was, it had a good budget, but it wasn't just ridiculous like a Resident Evil 6 or something, Don't know why I keep comparing it to Resident Evil for some reason. I'm not even really a Resident Evil fan, but it keeps coming up. Just because that damn catchy music sounds exactly like Resident Evil. Anyway, he was doing that. Dark Souls had this whatever reasonable budget that wasn't ridiculous, and it was focused at this pretty niche audience, and yet it still managed to sell 2 million copies, and the developers were delighted that it sold 2 million copies. It blew away their expectations that it sold 2 million copies, and then there's something like Tomb Raider, which cost millions and millions and sold whatever 4 million copies, and they're like, oh no, only 4 million, we needed far more in order to make this ridiculously expensive crowd-pleasing project profitable. Yeah. And I'm totally in agreement with him. I wish more games could be of a reasonable scope, budget and people-wise, with a more specific audience, rather than just big budget, wide audience, so nobody is really particularly satisfied. They're just like, yeah, I suppose it's okay. Whereas you either love Dark Souls or you can't stand it, really. Or you can be where I am, whereas I love to hate it. That's my. I think that's a healthy position to have on Dark Souls. Do you get the vague, incoherent point I'm trying to make?
Yeah. So I get where you're coming from.
Do you want to jump on and continue with that, or?
Well, I kind of think that the reason that Dark Souls is probably as popular as it is because, coming off of Demon Souls, which is essentially the same game, but probably a lot more. I mean, I haven't played Demon Souls, but I assume it's probably a lot less streamlined.
I'm surprised. I thought you'd be like, oh, Demon Souls, give me some of that shit.
No. Because I don't think Demon Souls had that much of a fan base.
It really seemed to come and go and have this real cult following, but I'd never in a million years thought it would have a sequel. I thought it was just like some crazy experiment that somebody convinced Namco or whoever it was to fund, and then it just came and went like you'd think it was.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm already amazed that Mirror's Edge 2 is apparently going to be a thing. Please, Buddha, will that be good? Please. If Mirror's Edge 2 comes out and it's just the complete wrong direction, then I just wish they'd never even bothered. But It's the fact that EA is still involved that worries me, you know. Let's put more guns in. I don't know where that was going, but it just all comes back to my eternal love of the indie scene. Something like FTL. I have my problems with FTL, but holy crap is that fun. FTL, by the way, is a game where dying is hilarious. Probably the most fun you'll ever have in FTL is when everything's going wrong. You're like, the engines are on fire, we've got 2% oxygen, my captain tried to heal himself and a guy teleported in and stabbed him and everything, and then I tried to fire a rocket and it missed, and now I don't have... You end up in this situation where you can't fuel your shield because you don't have enough energy, and you can't use your weapons instead because they're broken, and you're just... What do I do? And dying isn't fun in Dark Souls, but it's deserved. FTL's biggest problem is that it's just so random that death is almost meaningless because...
Yeah.
Yes, I don't know where I was going with that one either, but take it for whatever it is. I don't even know if you've played FTL, Callum.
Yeah, I played FTL.
Yeah.
Quite a bit.
I would say... What? Who, sorry?
It's a fun game. I like it.
It's pretty true, that. It certainly is that thing what you said.
Yeah.
Oh, damn. We used up my one last good topic, probably, was that budget thing I was going on about. But I think we could have... I think we could have gone more into the loot, like... I don't know, a whole loot ramble might be a thing, but I have to say I'm suspicious we're running out of steam by now. So unless I come up with an amazing gem of a topic that just blows your mind and makes all the preamble leading up to this worthwhile. Well, what? Oh.
I have one question.
Oh, save us.
Okay.
Oh.
What do you hope to be in the sequel?
Well, it's hard to even think because the core combat experience of Dark Souls is so damn good and so sound. I almost wonder whether if they could make a game with a Dark Souls level of balance and well put togetherness, that's a word. If they could make a game like that, but also incorporated, again, in Skyrim, you can do all these different things, and they're not nearly as satisfying as in Dark Souls, but it's just fun to be a mage and play around with all these crazy effects, whereas in Dark Souls, magic has the purpose of being for combat, just like everything else does, I would like a Dark Souls where if just by some miracle you could also be stealthy and or also be magic in Dark Souls is you do magic but you also do other things. You can't really just be purely a magic man, can you, as far as I'm aware? No?
You can.
Can you?
Yeah, you can.
Is it actually feasible?
Yeah.
I must have just not given it any attempt at all then.
It's quite, because you can get spells which summon weapons so you can use them. Technically it's magic.
Technicalities. But you get what I'm trying to say, if they could... They've got the fighter part of the Holy Trinity down. If they could get the rogue and the wizard involved as well, I think it would be a lovely experience. It's kind of like when Portal came out, and then I first heard the rumblings of a sequel, and I'm like, but it's perfect! What do you do? How do you make it better? And the answer was to give it co-op. That's how they made Portal 2 a worthy sequel, if you ask me. So that really is kind of the conundrum of Dark Souls 2, is it's either just going to be a big expansion pack, which doesn't really change anything, or they're going to find some wondrous way to somehow make it even better, which I wouldn't put it beyond these people. From Software may have a terrible name, but they are an increasingly lovely developer, from my experience. And it's extremely awesome that Namco, Bandai, whatever their name is continually funding. I'm delighted that a publisher has found a, hardcore title and is making some serious money off it,
Yeah.
I think that's an excellent example. I don't want people to all go out and make their own Dark Souls, just like I wouldn't want everyone to start making Deus Ex again, but I want people to learn the sort of psychology and focus of design that went into Dark Souls. Satisfying consequences for the player's actions. This is what I want more often. None of your fluffy nonsense, none of your fables, none of your supposed depth that's only wafer thin. None of that. And unless you have another wonderful point, I think that's about as good an ending we're ever going to get.
I think we should end it.
I think that is actually possibly a point. How do you think that? I think it's been fun. It's been fun. We got the. There was one casualty in Kratos. He will never walk again. But apart from that, there were no major disasters in the creation of this podcast. And I presume you've enjoyed, Callum?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, fine. I'm just always horrified that once I start talking, I'll never shut up. I told you to do the hand thing. I'm always telling people to do the hand thing to shut me up. But people are just so damn polite, So
I felt as though you were just, you needed to get something off your chest, and you did. And it was good.
You're so considerate. Come here. Oh god. Okay, but I suppose the problem with you is you don't really have anything you want to plug that I'm aware of, do you?
I am plugless.
Oh, what?
No? I said I'm plugless. You cannot.
You're plugless. Me. Oh, you poor man. Oh, a man without a plug. It's a shame, I had the other bloke on here, and he's like, yes, you can this and this and this. Well, and you're just like, you're an enigma. Your blurry screen, I can barely make you out. You're basically Nessie, is what I'm saying. Okay. People might catch a glimpse of you, but you leave no trace, nothing to find you. You even only have a first name. You're just Callum. He's like Callum the Grey, is what you are. Callum the Blurry. Anyway, yes, people, I hope you've enjoyed what was, in theory, a coherent conversation about Dark Souls. Go, please, for the love of Jesus, if you haven't tried Dark Souls. I don't know if there's a demo. It seems to go on. I'm sure it was on sale on Steam recently. It may still be. Yeah,
they had it in the Steam sales, I think, 3 days ago, something like that. I don't know.
I actually meant to mention in the Deus Ex one that Deus Ex was literally on sale the day I was recording that, but failed to mention it, so you probably missed that one too. I'm so good. I'm so good at being topical with my Steam news. But I bought SimCity 4 for £3 this morning. Does that count as news?
I don't know. I just bought Payday the Heist this morning.
Oh.
Yeah. For £3.74.
Some good came of this.
Dark Souls Prepare to Die edition is still in sale.
Oh!
That is today, the 19th.
Ah, well, so in a week when they get this, they might... well...
We tried.
The spirit was willing, damn it. Which I think sums up Dark Souls in a nutshell. The spirit is willing, the flesh is weak and pudgy. Thank you, Callum, for your generous contributions. I hope the internet people have put up with me and enjoyed your endless wit. I've been trying for the longest time to get you and me to do a Terraria thing, but Terraria does not enjoy working for us. It's like, you want to do a fun thing that people might enjoy? Fuck you then. That's what Terraria's multiplayer said to us. It was very rude. I sent a strongly worded letter to it, but no polite reply. I don't know how did I start talking about Terraria. Do you have any terribly insightful comments or some other recommendation other than Dark Souls?
I don't know. Um,
Dungeons and
not really.
Dragons?
No. Dungeons and Dragons.
There we go.
Yeah.
Moral of the story.
Get some friends. Get somebody who knows what they're doing, and play some Dungeons and Dragons.
It's less easy to break than a Kratos action figure, I must say. So, thank you, Callum, and goodbye, everybody. Say goodbye, Callum.
Bye, Callum.
You had to do it, didn't you? Goodbye, everyone.